Hey everybody, it's Stephanie with the Learning Project again. You guys, I'm so excited about this podcast. I always start off every day like, I'm so excited about this podcast. I'm so excited about this podcast. I really am, because I really seek out people or search people. But let me tell you, this one, you guys, is a little bit different. So we have a podcast coming up. We featured Wasita. You guys, if you have not seen that podcast, I'm telling you, I'm giving y'all all the tea, all the tips, everything. Wasita did an amazing job with just dialoguing about what it really means to be in that fourth trimester and really understand what it means to have a new body. Like, it was so good. But today, you guys, we have Theresa, who knows Wasita. She reaches out to me and is like, hey, I got this documentary on maternal health and it's focused on Black women. Can we talk? I'm like, yes, we can. So I am so excited about today because we've been really looking forward to seeing some type of video, documentary, something that reflects what we're going through and what we're talking about. And we haven't had the opportunity to really see that in a genuine way, I think, and really produced by us, for us, by us, you know? And so, Theresa, welcome to the Learning Project. We are in the zone. We are excited about you being here. And we want to thank you for taking your time out just to share what you're doing and collaborate together and partner together. So tell us a little bit about Janae Productions. What is this all about, girl? And how did this happen?
Hi, everybody. My name is Theresa Mitchell. I am executive producer of a documentary called Life After Loss. Life After Loss is created to bring awareness about Black maternal health. It tells my story and many other Black women's stories. Janae Productions is a film production company that I founded last year during the pandemic. So hopefully, you know, we have some more short stories and some more documentaries coming along after this documentary comes out.
Wonderful, wonderful. So is your background in film? Like, how did you even get into this? Because when people hear productions, they're like, okay, how does this all work? What is the story? I'm going to ask you the backstory. So what is the backstory of you coming into your purpose, your passion, where you're at now?
Oh, the backstory. The backstory is I came from mental health, was a mental health caseworker for many, many years. And then I reached over to working for just insurance companies.
I think you're on mute. Let's see here. There you go.
Last year, it came at we was home in this pandemic and during COVID. I had this thought in my mind, like 2 years ago, like I'd never seen a documentary that represent us. And I had this idea where I'm like, I want to tell my story and didn't know where to go, called a lot of people. And I'm like, you know what? I know a few people at home because everything is shut down. You cannot ignore my calls. You cannot say you didn't get my Instagram.
You know,
you can't ignore me. I know you home. I really know you home. So I called my cousin. I told my cousin the concept of my idea. And he was like, you know what? Give me about a week. I was like, okay, cool. About 2 days, he called me. He was like, I got a whole crew for you. You ready to film this? And I'm like, no, I don't know where to begin and where to start. But he walked me through everything. He taught me that we need to start telling our stories, especially Black and brown women. We need to start telling our stories, speaking our truth, because nobody can take that away from us. And that's how it happened.
You just said everything and more. I'm telling you, I think that's what's so crazy. You and I share a very sacred space where we both had infertility issues, going through that process, having a child. We don't talk about that in the Black community. It's a very taboo thing. It makes people feel very uncomfortable. One of the things that we talk about, the famous phrase, you need to be patient, you need to wait on God, which are true statements. Okay. I'm not taking anything from that, y'all. Okay. Whatever spiritual background you got, whatever you believe in, yes, that is true. Time. Okay. But when you're going through that, there are things that you could be doing along the way, right? But if you don't have people that you can reach out to guide you and to help you, that is the main issue, and then when we deem something as a white woman thing and we don't want to associate with that, or we're not sure about that, there could be some pushback, getting help and talking about infertility and talking about loss. Okay, everybody loses a baby, get over it, you'll be okay, push forward. Like, there's no recognition for Black women to find that space to say, I lost my child, I am sad, I'm hurting right now, I don't know what to do with these feelings. I have a child now, and now I'm mourning the children that I didn't have because I feel like, they're not here with me to celebrate this moment and to create this memory. There's a lot of backlash when it comes to Black women taking that space to say, I want to talk about my pregnancy, I want to talk about my loss, I want to talk about my journey, because this journey really has not been allotted or open for us to share, like in an okay space, just because of our past history, which was slavery, which is children being taken away, children, dying. Like, it's such a normal thing, that trauma, and we normalize that trauma instead of actually saying, what, we need to recognize this and we need to spend some time on this, right? So that's why I'm so excited about this documentary. Can you tell us a little bit about your story and what kind of brought about this new, I guess, sense of purpose, journey? I don't even know if I want to call it purpose, like just maybe enlightenment. I don't know what it means to you. So let's go from there.
It's all of the above. I suffered 3 miscarriages before I had my rainbow baby. A rainbow baby is a baby that's born after a loss. Either it's a miscarriage or a stillbirth, or just, a baby dying at any complications that they may have. Once I found out that I was pregnant the first time, I was so excited. I was so super like, yay, I'm pregnant, and in my 20s, my late 20s, I was like, yeah, I'm so super excited. When I was 15 weeks, I lost a baby.
Wow.
The doctors couldn't tell me exactly what's going on. Only thing they said was, you might have an incompetent cervix. Okay, so can we check my cervix? Oh, no, you gotta wait till you get pregnant again to see if it is actually your cervix. Wow. 2014, I got pregnant again. This time I lasted all the way to 18 weeks. 18 weeks, had a miscarriage due to leakage.
Wow.
I complained to my doctor several times that something is not right down there, but they kept telling me, oh, it's pregnancy, you'll be fine. And it wasn't fine. I was to the hospital, had to have DNC, put medication up there so I can have a natural birth, but it didn't happen. Then I was down and out. I didn't know what to do. I wanted to speak to a therapist, but I couldn't find a therapist. It was like a 3-month wait just to get in for a therapist. So they kept telling me I needed to go to group counseling. So when I went to group counseling, I didn't see nobody that looked like me. Wow. I didn't see nobody that sounded like me. I didn't see anybody that was telling a story in a way where I felt like I can connect with you.
Yeah.
None of that. They just telling me that, oh, you're depressed. And I'm like, I don't feel depressed. I don't know what depression is.
Right.
But I feel like I'm sad. I'm angry. I'm hurt. I'm grieving a loss. That's what I'm feeling. Like, I want to be this mad Black woman that y'all keep portraying of who you are. Right. But I'm not. I couldn't show my vulnerability. I couldn't show that I was weak. And I think that was the turning point for me to be like, you know what, I'm just going to give up. In 2016, I found out I'm pregnant again. And this pregnancy was different because they heard me, they seen me, but I still got an infection and I had to have a Socratic abortion because I reached up to the baby. So it was either both of us dying or I could just survive. And that was one of those moments where, how do you choose? How do you sit here and ask me this thing? I don't know what to say. I don't know what's going on. Like, you talking to me, it sounds like you're talking to somebody else. I can't hear you, but I can see your lips moving, but I just can't hear you.
Right. Can I just put a pin in that just real quick? Because I need to make sure we shine light on this. In one of my podcasts prior, we talked about abortion, and we talked about how women are getting are in positions where they have to get surgery to remove the baby, and it's categorized as an abortion. And there are so many negative stereotypes around this word abortion, and people don't even understand what is actually happening in that compass. And then we look at the numbers, and we look at Black women having high numbers of abortions or different things. Like, I'm like, are we talking about losses, or are we actually talking about abortions? And the two should not be the same, because it has its own trauma. It puts in there, you know what I mean? And I always tell people, I'm pro-choice. People can do what they want with their body, because I can't make that decision for them, right? Just like when we're talking about you making this decision, there's some women that are like, no, I'm not making this decision. You have to make a decision for your health so you can move on and live and be healthy. But there are certain people that really struggle with this. And one of the ladies was talking to me, and she was just like, you know, it broke her down. And like, she's super religious, super Christian, super religious. And then she was like, Stephanie, like, I didn't even know what to do with that. Like, people are not talking about what these actually mean until they're actually in that position. And they're like, what? You're categorizing it as that? They're two separate things. We need numbers on that in itself, so that we know what is actually happening with women's body. And let's just take the Black and white thing, just women's body in general. We deserve to know how many women are going through this, and how many women, separate to what women are going through as far as abortions, that may be in its traditional, I don't even know how to say that, traditional sense. But I just wanted to shine some light on that, and just really, I send my heart goes out to you in that part of your story. So please continue. But I had to take that. We had to take that nugget, and we had to talk about that nugget.
That one was shocking. I'm like, I don't want an abortion. I didn't ask for one, but you telling me this is what it is. So how do I swallow that? How do I make this decision? I sat on that hospital floor crying my eyes out. Yet again, I'm coming home with a box. Yet again, I gotta bury a child that I never met. Yet again, I'm grieving somebody that I really actually wanted. Like, I'm in love with this child from the moment I conceived this child. I'm in love with this child the moment that I heard the heartbeat, before the moment that I felt like I'm about to throw up. I'm in love with this child. So now you're telling me I have to get rid of this child because of a situation that I have no idea, no clue what's going on. And that woke me up to the point where I was like, you know what? I need to talk about this. How do I start healing? Because I feel the guilt. The guilt and the shame was killing me. It felt like I did not know where I was heading or where I was going. And then as a Black woman, I have to get up every day and pretend like I'm strong. Pretend like this happened, but hey, life goes on. Many days I just wanted to crawl up in my bed and just close all the curtains, turn off the TV, turn off the phone, and not speak to nobody. And I said, that took me a long time to get out of that space. But I understand why it took me so long, because I couldn't shake that guilt. I couldn't shake that shame.
And Wasita said something to me really, like, it was like mind blowing. You can still go through postpartum after you lose a baby. Okay, I'm gonna say that for the people in the back. You can still go through postpartum even after you lose a baby. Where's the conversation at the doctor's office about that?
None.
Not.
None. I never had my third pregnancy, I got a call to make sure I was okay. But the first and second, they didn't call. They didn't even give me no resources. All they kept telling me was, "Oh, you have to go to the funeral home and pick out a urn and figure out what you want to do." And I'm like, how do I process this? Like you pushing me out there in a world where I don't know nothing about. I have no clue. Where do I go from here? Who do I speak to? How do I process all this? How do I put all these emotions in one box and try to take each piece out? Like, how do I do this?
Wow.
I didn't have no answers. Nobody had answers for me. And I think I didn't really want answers. I just wanted somebody to listen to me. And I didn't get that. I didn't get that with my family. My family kept saying, well, you know, it was meant to be. I kept hearing, oh, well, you know, I got kids. You want one of mine? I'm like, who says these things?
The jokes, you know? Because people get so uncomfortable, they just start making all kind of just saying whatever. Yeah. You just be looking at them like, Lord Jesus, get me straight.
And then you get the ones where it's my mom and other people pray about it. It's going to be okay. How do you know that? How do you reassure somebody that it's going to be okay? Because I feel like it's not going to be okay.
Yeah.
And people don't tell you it's okay not to be okay. They just want you to be this who you was. And I think who I was back then is not who I am today, because it brings me to know that what my self-awareness is and what my self-worth is. And they did not put that in perspective when I lost my first child, when I lost my second child, when I lost my third child. That's when I had my rainbow baby, is when I put everything in perspective, because now I understand that I'm worthy to know what the hell is going on with me.
We got to pause for a second, y'all. I don't know who needs to hear this today. That was so deep on so many levels. Let me tell you, we've been talking a lot about this book called The Fourth Trimester. And there's a part in there that talks about the rites of passage. And it talks about these different passages women go through, right? And one of the things they didn't highlight is the passage of when you lose a child and how it changes you. And everybody wants you to be the same. Like, you hit that thing on the head, Theresa. You cannot be the same when you go through something that is so transformational. It's so spiritual, it's physical, it's mental. It is so real. And people don't understand that you cannot be the same. There was like this research that went out a while ago. Y'all, I need to be referencing stuff and like, this is where it came from, this is where it came from. But you know how we do here. It's coffee conversation. So, there's this research that went out that was talking about how the DNA between the mother and the child, it becomes in sync during that womb process, right? If that is a true research piece and it is absolutely concrete, which I believe it is, you understand that when you lose a baby, that piece of that baby is still with you. It doesn't matter if that baby you had that baby for 2 weeks or 5 months or 9 months. It does not matter. The sequence of DNA, that connection is so critical. It's so connected. And so when you're talking about you can't be the same, that is such a true statement. And I think as medical professionals, as family, as peer mentors, as coaches, we've got to stop expecting people to be the same when they go through something traumatic, right? And even just the idea of, you went through this once already. You know what this is like. You know how to get through this. Just go, just do your thing. That's a powerful statement, right? But at the same time, it's not going to be received, because you don't understand that every single time I hit that blow, every single time I hit that place, it changes my viewpoint on the world on my relationship spiritually, whatever spiritual life you have. And it changes even your walk sometimes with your spouse. I had talked a lot about this on one of the other podcasts that I did, which talking about how my husband and I stayed connected because during this time, a lot of people, their partners, they break up or, their relationship starts really dwindling because they cannot, it's just too much trauma on the relationship and they're trying to fix it instead of like finding people to help them work through the process.
Yeah. Yeah. And that's what's going on now. Like, we tried to find Black men to speak about their losses, and it was incredible to hear their stories. But when it comes to the camera, they're not willing to do it. They're not willing to sit down and have a conversation because they feel like, oh, their friends are going to say something, or their family is going to say something, or they're going to be perceived in the air quotes as weak. Yeah. And I think that is nonsense because at the end of the day, you lost somebody.
Yep. There it is.
Lost your child. Yep. So I don't care how strong you are, how financially you are, or you just this big macho man and you can do it all. You have your breaking moments. You have your moments where you feel like, why? You questioned yourself multiple times. And we wanted to share, their story, but unfortunately we couldn't get a group of men to sit down with us and have a conversation.
Oh man, and that in itself is its own conversation, just how toxic masculinity has been for the Black community. Yes. It has done something like, it's just torn the whole community apart on top of the trauma that it's already faced. And, one of the things my husband, he's super laid back and quiet, total opposite of me. He's my yin to my yang, as I always say. And so he had said something to me, and actually not even to me. So he was on a conversation with somebody and he was frustrated with them and he blurts out, "Man, I just lost my second baby. I don't know what you want me to do, but right now I would do anything to be in your place." That is the first time I had ever heard him even speak of this. When I heard him say that out loud, it did something to me physically, mentally, like it just took me to a whole nother state of just, oh my gosh, like he is feeling pain and I am not seeing it because he's not showing it the same way that I do. And that's so hard because you could be in a place where you're abusing your partner without even knowing it because you think they're fine and they're not worried about it and they've gone on with their lives. And it's not that, it's they are grieving in their own way. And because our culture has not really, we don't really understand how maybe men grieve. And I'm making some real blanket statements right now, y'all. So don't be judging me. But what I'm saying is, what I'm saying? Somebody out there, if you really think about it, because we don't take time to get to know maybe a person or an individual and how they grieve, if it doesn't look like what we're accustomed to, we will miss the mark and the opportunity to embrace and to show compassion and to show love and to begin that healing process.
Yeah. And I think that's so important for even for women of all colors, and men of all colors too, because we put this mask on like we are superheroes. I'm not. I thought I was super saving everybody, but I couldn't. Right. I had to save myself. And now that I'm self-awareness of myself, I choose me. I choose to understand that I was broken then, but I'm building myself back up now.
Beautiful.
And now that I'm showing light to something that is very moving to me, it feels like, yeah, I got this. You got this. Sometimes I feel like, man, I want to give up, but I'm like, nah, I can't. I got to keep pushing. Pushing.
Yeah. It's when the goal and the purpose is bigger than you are. It's like sometimes you can't even project or think about how it's going to look at the end.
Yeah.
And that is very hard when you're in that creative phase and putting things together. So tell us a little bit about the layout of this documentary. What if people were to check this documentary out? First of all, where can we check this documentary out? And where can they follow you? We're going to do a little plug in the middle of our podcast here.
Yes, the documentary is in editing mode right now, so it should be hopefully by the end of this year. It should be coming
Wonderful.
out. The premise of the documentary is telling my story with a group of other women's story about 5 of us telling our stories from the time we was pregnant until what happened. The disparity when it comes to black and brown people in America when it comes to healthcare.
Yeah.
We are 3 to 4 times most likely to die after hands of childbirth.
Yep.
We are most likely to have complications during and after childbirth.
Yep.
And we are overlooked, not seen, and not heard. And that is the most promising thing for this documentary, and to understand what is lost.
Yeah.
We feel right now is something normal. We all been through it probably in a different way, in a different stage.
Yep.
But once you experience loss, when it's even if it's a miscarriage or you just lost your child at 20, that grief and that pain is real. It's something that we need to talk about. We need to stop being so quiet about, because when your grandma died or your mom died, you talk about that person. So why is it that when we have an infant loss or a miscarriage or we can't get pregnant, we don't have these conversations? People look at you like, what's wrong with you? Why you can't hold your baby? But those are the conversations that we need to have. I know it's tough, and I know you don't want to hear certain people, but for me, talking about it made me feel more empowered, because I couldn't talk about it. I used to cry all the time. As soon as you ask me a question, I'm boohoo crying. And you looking at me like, oh man, see, I shouldn't have brought it up. But now I'm more comfortable now to have this conversation with you, because I want you to understand where I'm coming from.
Yes.
I want you to see my journey. I want you to understand that, yeah, I look like I was strong, but in those pictures, it's 1,000 words. Like, you see me now, but back then I was torn up from the flow up. Like I was, I wasn't that person where you be like, okay, well, that's the Theresa I know.
Right.
I was broken.
Yeah.
So we have doctors having a conversation with us to know and letting us know that they don't have all the answers.
Right.
We want you guys to see more Black doctors. We want Black doctors to be in our network and stuff like that. But in reality, it's not. It's only like 3% to 5% of Black doctors in America. So if you go to a doctor that is not a doctor of color, ask the tough questions. Ask the questions that you really know that you need to get these answers. And advocate for yourself. Actually run a simple test like a CAT scan or a mammogram or something like that. Don't worry about the cost, because at the end of the day, you want to make sure that your body is okay, whatever you're going through, even if it's with cancer or intestinal issues or your urology issues. Even if you're trying to get pregnant or not get pregnant, you need to be advocating for yourself and getting the resources that you need. And if you don't like your doctor, fire your doctor.
Fire them.
You don't need them. If you don't like your hair salon stylist, and she's not doing your edges right or laying your hair, fire her too. Like, I want women to be able to know where they are celebrated, not where they're tolerated. Because that's what we got in a society where you walk into these places where they just tolerate you. No, queen, you need to be celebrated. If I'm walking into your establishment and your greeting lady is greeting me with pleasure and happiness to be here, then I'm gonna rock with you. But if I'm coming in your office and your secretary is with a stink attitude, I'm not messing with you.
No.
I feel like we need these things to be changed, but in order to change them, we have to look in deep into ourselves to figure out, okay, are we willing to give these changes done?
Yeah, you hit something on the head here that I want to shine some light on, which is we've been talking a lot about this. For those that have been watching the series, I have partnered with Empire Health Foundation, and we've been talking a lot about how to support women that have children from 0 to 12 months. And one of the things that was talked about is how do we actually provide support for women that are in this segment or in this stage, right? And I think one of the things that we need to talk about more about is that we put too much pressure on doctors and nurses. I think that we have really good people in the medical field, right? I tell people we got bad people in every single field, right? But if we don't have better support systems that are kind of stemmed out of that nursing and that being a doctor, meaning like bringing in peer support, bringing in doulas, bringing in different PTs, like we need to work better as a community so that we can create more inventive ways to make the healthcare system better. It's the same thing that I talk about when it comes to policing. There's some good police out there and there are some bad police out there. But if we have different ways that can support police officers so they don't have to be everything to everybody, because we all know that that's a lot on a person when you have to move mentally from one place to another place. You go from a traffic stop, ticket, I guess scenario, then you're going into a murder scene. Like they're not even on the same page. And that's the same thing when I think about doctors and nurses. You have this thing called compassion fatigue, where people may see a whole bunch of people that are a certain way and it starts building biases and stereotypes for them, versus like, how can we build the support system to help support that person in the way that they need to be supported? And so we have got to really talk to our young people, our middle-aged people, our older people. How can they get involved with the medical community, whether it be making teas, soups, providing different types of care during that postpartum stage, before, after, and during loss? Because one of the things I also learned is that there's doulas that actually focus on loss. And so how great would it be? You go to the hospital, you have a miscarriage. Who calls you? A doula.
Thank you. Yes. I didn't even know that.
Yeah.
During this journey that we're taking to do this documentary, I didn't even know doulas exist.
Wow.
I only knew about midwives. Midwives come in your house, they make sure that you're good, blah, blah, blah. But doulas do a whole range of stuff. From the time that you want to have a baby, they are there for you. They are supporting you. They're teaching you how to eat healthy, lose weight, how to conceive, what to eat to increase your eggs, and especially for your husband or your significant other. They teach them how to increase your sperm count. Then when you do get pregnant, they then for the whole duration a full spectrum doula. I didn't even know that. And then you have a bereavement doula. What? It took me about 6 months just to find one therapist, but it could have took me probably a week just to find a bereavement doula. I'm like, this community is mind blowing for me, and I'm like, why is it not required? Why? Like I know in New York State, they passed a law that requires that some doulas will be paid through health insurance. But in some states, they don't even consider a doula anything.
That's my
state. And I feel like that is crazy. And then also once you cause a whole healthcare system, I can go on and on and on. It's real. So screwed up because in certain states, once you have a baby, and if you have pregnancy Medicaid, in the state of Florida, you only have 90 days to get yourself together. So after you have that baby, you only have 90 days to go back to the doctor, do all this. But if you hit that 89th day and you have to run a test because they didn't do a test in the beginning, you miss out on that test because the 90th day, you're cut off. But
Wow.
in New York State, you have a whole year to get yourself together.
That's
And then you
awesome.
can reapply. But in South Carolina, it's like what, 3 to 6 months. So in different states, you have different policies and different rules and regulations, which I feel like in all these states that we have, its healthcare system should be across the board. If you
Mm,
want to birth healthy babies, you should be able to have us come in and start a family plan.
it's true.
Start, taking getting that education to know, okay, this is what you need to do when you
Yeah.
get pregnant. This
Yeah.
is what you need to do after pregnancy, and have this community follow you from the beginning to the end. So
Mhm.
we won't have these conversations where we're grieving our loss, or
Absolutely.
we having conversations on teen pregnancy, or we having
Yep.
conversations on your age will play a factor of you having a child with dysformity. Like,
Yep.
these are the conversations that we need to have open
Yep.
with all our kids. I don't care if you're a boy or a girl.
Yep.
We need to have these conversations because these are our generation. These are our future. So if I'm
Absolutely.
going through something, I don't want my daughter to go through something. If we can
Right.
start having this conversation, start having this
Yep.
dialogue,
Yeah.
it can be better.
Absolutely. I literally said this, which is, why are we not talking about this in sex education? We talked a lot
Right?
about we talk a lot about how to prevent a baby, which is important, y'all. Okay. I'm not out
Yeah,
there just
it
saying
is.
like teenagers should be having a whole bunch of babies. But like my niece, she was a teen mom and she had said something to me. She said she just had her second baby and she's just had a completely different experience from the time when she was a teen, which she knew nothing. She didn't know what was going on, until this time where she knew everything that was going on. And she was actually pregnant alongside with me. And I told her, I said, I don't know what I would have done if you would have been pregnant with me. Because she was like, hey, don't forget this, don't forget that, don't forget this, because she had already went through it. But she was
Yeah.
like, a lot of my experience was a blur because I was going through trauma, shame, and all kinds of stuff. And I was, going through grief, but her pregnancy was really beautiful, even though she was in that situation. And so I think we need to do more education with our girls about, and boys, about what's going on and how this process really works, because we're just hearing you have sex, you have a baby. And then when you get 30 something years old, like myself, and you're like, oh, you have sex, you have a baby. That's not the case. What do you mean that's not the case? Now you're figuring out, okay, I got to pay all this money for somebody to help me get pregnant and keep my baby and go through this process. And you're like, how did this happen? Like, I've never heard of this before, And so it really shines light on a whole different journey, but we are not talking about it. And we need to prepare our daughters and our sons for this at an earlier age, because like I said, men go through some serious things too, and it's so hard that you cannot capture it on film. It drives me insane. I'm like have the conversation,
Yes.
and find that place of vulnerability so that you can find that place of healing. And this is across board. It doesn't matter, like you're saying, black, white, orange, yellow, green, whatever. We are all going through this process and everybody's experience is different. There's economic situations that make people that may not be black that actually go through because they don't have the money or they don't look a certain way. Or you have other people that don't have access to really good health care, so they're put in a position where they get what they get and they can't throw a fit. There's so many different pieces that we have to explore and talk about more about. And that's what I hope to do through this podcast series. So you guys are in the editing stage right now. You're hoping that the film will be done by the end of the year. I think that this is going to be amazing. What do you hope and wish for as people watch your film, and how do you want it to impact them?
I wanted to impact them in their own way. I want you to understand that we are all human and we are all mothers.
Yeah.
No matter if we lost our child or have a child or trying to conceive a child, we are all mothers in certain parts of this journey. But I also want to speak my truth because only I can speak my truth. But I want you to understand that it took a long time for me to be okay with myself. And hopefully we can shed light and start opening a conversation and start talking to our ancestors and our grandmas and our aunties about this.
Yeah.
Asking these tough questions because I just recently found out from my mom that my grandmother went to a miscarriage. And I'm like, well, why do you wait till I'm 30 years old? Why we couldn't have this conversation when I'm in my teenage years, you know? But just having a conversation, I hope, for this project is to reach out to your friend, your family, even if you don't know somebody that had it. Somebody might have lost a child and didn't say anything.
Yep.
But just starting to have that conversation, I think it will change the dialogue and hopefully change our minds when it comes to Black maternal health.
Oh my goodness, beautifully said. Beautifully said. So for those that don't know, I have been reading this book called The Fourth Trimester by Kimberly Johnston. We have a BIPOC mental health community that's on Facebook. We'll be on Instagram pretty soon here, but I want to share a piece because you said something that is so powerful when you're talking about your film and telling your stories. So research shows that the most effective way to decrease postpartum is, this goes along with anxiety or depression symptoms. It comes from when women wrote their unfiltered stories within 48 hours of a birth experience. That is what research shows. So within 48 hours, if an individual tells their story or writes their story out, they're able to decrease their chances of anxiety and depression during their postpartum stage. So this segment, this documentary, when you told me about it, it spoke so loudly to me because it really empowers people to tell their story. It doesn't matter if it's been years, if it's been days, if it's been hours or minutes or seconds. When you tell your story, it's something powerful that is reclaiming, as Maxine Waters says, reclaiming my time, reclaiming my time. You know, you're reclaiming that time in that space that allows you to be in that moment and heal that moment. And I just want to commend you for creating this documentary and sharing these sacred stories that allow women to release this thing that may be on our backs and our mind and have weighed us down. And the freedom that it gives other women to say, this happened to me too, and I want to share my story. And I love this so much. Like, this is amazing. This is amazing. So where can we follow you, Theresa? Like, if people are like, you know what, I need to follow her to make sure that I do not miss this video. I do not want to miss it. I got to be there on opening night. Like, where can they follow you?
They can follow me at Janae Productions on all social media platforms, which is Facebook, Instagram, and Twitter. Janae is spelled Jhene. Productions is Productions. And then you also email me at JanaeProductions@gmail.com, or you can find me online, which is my website, Janae Productions @wicx.com.
Wonderful. And don't worry, for those that are driving, you guys, all the information will be right below this clip. So please know that, you know, we are here to support you. And this is not an easy journey. But let me tell you, if we got a whole bunch of sisters, black, white, green, yellow, whoever, they all around us, and all that female energy is coming forth. I'm telling you, it's healing. Okay.
Yes, it's healing. I just want to thank you. I want to thank the ladies because, you know, telling your story is one thing, but sharing it to the world or sharing it with other people is another. And I just want to take my hat off to you because you are doing an amazing work. You're putting in the work, you're doing the work, and your foot is on the ground, and you are actually talking to women and embracing us. And and making us feel like we are whole.
Thank you. Thank you. I'm so excited to do this. This fills my spirit, and I just love being with my people, like my sisters, and some people, like, they hear me say that and they're like, are you talking about Black people? No, all my sisters, like, we come from one thing. Like, I think motherhood, loss, women, being a woman, it just centers everything, and being around that is just so healing to my soul, because we go through so many changes and so many stages of life. And to have another person say, I've been there, girl. This is how I did it. You're going to find your own way, but this is, I'm here for you, So I just want to thank everybody who has been following the series and listening. You guys, if you have not heard a couple of our other podcasts that go along, which are Sending Strength and Love, women telling their sacred stories of loss, fertility, and pregnancy, and also Girl Get a Doula. I talk a lot about my experience getting a doula this time around, and how I changed a lot of stuff when I got pregnant and had my little baby Jalea. And so I just want to thank you guys again. And this is so subpar, like, I was not planning to talk about this, but Janae Productions, why that name?
I named my daughter Janae, so it's dedicated to her. She is one of many of my mini me's. Like, she is such a blessing. She came when, my whole world felt like it was upside down. Wow. So I wanted her to embrace who she is, because I don't want her to grow up and feel like mommy never told her story. And, and I wanted her to understand that she has a choice. Yeah. She has a voice, and she, as soon as she was born, she got stigmas on her back for being, one, Black, two, a woman. So now I want her to embrace her being her. I'm going to love her from the top of her head to the bottom of her foot. And I want her to be able to be strong, but also weak too, and also vulnerable, because that's who I was. And I didn't know how to embrace it. And I want her to just have no limitations. I just want her to be her. And she can tell her story through her lens, because mommy's telling her story through my lens. So.
Boom. Y'all, if you're not watching the video, I have been moving all over the place, clapping, snapping. Like, it's just, I'm feeling the whole podcast through my body. You guys, I want to thank you for just being here, listening to this podcast. Until next time, you guys, follow us on Facebook. Make sure that you look at our information down below. You could also check us out on the Learning Project, tlptraining.com. We are doing a lot of updates. We do training for early childhood educators. We do consulting, as well as we look at how we can change our communities in our world. You guys, we are all about that social justice and change, and we got to talk about it, and so that we can really see some things in the future blossom and grow. So until next time, thanks so much, you guys. Talk to you soon. Bye. And thank you, Theresa. I have to say it every time. Thank you. Thank you. Thank you.
You're welcome.